Alrighty, sorry about that. I'm running a couple of minutes behind. Jim Woodard is the first one here. Who he was, you know, I were actually texting a little bit earlier, but says, "Hey Robert, I'm here. Don't forget tomorrow evening. I'll try to get David on a little earlier. I need to get the screen set up in OBS so we don't all look funky. I will, you betcha, I will be there. I've got it on my calendar, and I'm going to talk about it again a little bit here in just a few minutes after some more people hop in here into onto the chat, so that I'm talking to more than currently about 7 people as it is telling me right now. So it usually takes a few minutes to ramp up. But yep, I will make sure and plug the show here. Pin the merchandise for all the good it does me. Let's see, Jack Bird, Jeff 7, both here. Who else is here? I wish you gave me a list of everybody that was watching and not just people in the chat. I don't know, I don't know if it does do that or not. I doubt it probably does, because YouTube doesn't tell me who watches my videos either. It just says that people watched them. Oh well, you can't have it all, I guess. And Chris Roan, what's up, man? Kobeoth, Ben E's here. Welcome, fellas. Jim shared a video, I think it was yesterday that you shared that that Gibson Megadeth video. You know, it was a real short marketing clip of, I don't know, man, it couldn't have been any longer than 15, 20 seconds, but it was, it was pretty cool. You know, I mean, it was, obviously it was the intro of, they're playing the intro Symphony of Destruction, and then, he pulls out a samurai sword and says Gibson on the end of, on the side of it. Basically it was a promotion that, Dave Mustaine is now a Gibson artist, and they're getting ready to come out with a signature model for him, so, which I'm sure will be a Flying V of some sort. But that promotion makes me think that, that signature model is coming sooner rather than later, which would be cool. Jim says, just sitting here with my SG and lap jamming through my Seymour Duncan 805. I haven't played one of those. That's supposed to be a cool pedal. Keeley Caverns, MXR Deluxe Delay. MXR Deluxe Delay, I'm not familiar with that. Unless it's the deluxe carbon copy you're talking about. And the Fender Twin Tone Master. Jim has been my reference go-to, pardon me, litmus test for those Fender Tone Master series from the get-go. You're the first one that I know that's bought one, and you've had nothing but great things to say about it. So I got to think that they're probably pretty cool, and it might be worth. I don't know. I really need a deluxe reverb in my amp arsenal, just so that I've got that Fender clean, but I don't have one. At the same time, I don't. It's kind of tough to justify dropping $600 for a clean tone. So, hey, Zoe joined me. Hey, hi, baby girl. My wife is working late today, so me and Zoe are holding down the fort pretty much all day long. So I decided to get her bed and pull it out and set it on the floor here next to me, so that she would have some place to lay down, and not give her some place to relax up here instead of downstairs where she can see out the window. Let's see. Jeff Sevens, West Avalon, old school 50 quad amp. Made in Michigan by Dave West. Not familiar with them. I am not familiar with them. First I've heard of those. Jack Burt says, Angry Charlie vid. You mean the Angry Driver, I'm assuming. That you did on the pedal seems like it could be the one overdrive distortion to have. That, matter of fact, that one was another one that came to me courtesy of Mr. Jim Woodard, and it's, you know, you're right. That's a killer pedal. That's one of the best pedals the Boss has ever put out. That was a brilliant idea that they put together. So, yep, very well designed, and well, as a matter of fact, you've seen that thing twice already because it was in the Blues Driver shootout video that I did that went up earlier this week as well. So that one was just the Blues Driver circuit of that pedal, but still, regardless, yeah, Angry Driver's pretty awesome, man. Angry Driver is pretty kick-ass. Kobe out says, would it be better for Mustaine to have a flying V with Gibson or Kramer? You know, honestly, I don't think it'll make much of a difference. You know, to tell you the truth, you know, I mean, honestly, the Kramer stuff seems like it might be a little bit better fit for him compared to the, you know, the Jacksons and the ESPs and the Deans and stuff that he's played in the past. Although the neck profile of the Deans is probably a little bit closer to the Gibsons, so that if he was going to choose one brand over the other, and if he chose Gibson for that, you know, I would assume that probably had something to do with it. May not have been the only reason, but probably had something to do with it. You know, that's actually a pretty big deal for Gibson, man, because I mean, you got to think they lost a lot of big name artists, you know, and most of their artist roster right now, with the exception of Slash, is, you know, they're all, you know, younger artists that don't, you know, with much younger fan followings that don't have as much money. Just because they're younger. And what that translates into is most of the signature models that Gibson has right now are all in the Epiphone line because, you know, the fans of those artists can afford those guitars. You know, they don't have a whole lot of signature stuff in the Gibson brand line at the moment. Dave Mustaine, on the other hand, can change a lot of that. So if they come, you know, and I'm sure they probably will come out with an Epiphone signature for him as well, but I've got a feeling his name is going to go on a Gibson. I would be real surprised if he would sign a contract that said otherwise. So, yeah, so, you know, this is a pretty big deal for Gibson, really. Archer's here. Charlie is good 52. OG. Serenity Guitars. Trent Circoni. Infamous. Let's see. Charlie's good. Charlie Osgood. I'm sorry. Charlie Osgood 52. Says, hanging out with you, man. Heard anything about them releasing Gibson or Epiphone non-reverse Firebirds in the future? I think enough of us want one. Not that I've heard, you know, but you know, I mean, I don't have an inside track and you know, things that are going on, being talked about in Gibson's conference rooms. So, you know, if the demand for it grows enough and they think that they can sell them, I'm sure that they'll build them. But in the meantime, if that is not there, you know, and they just don't, you know, if they don't feel that they can sell them, that's going to be their primary factor. You know, if they don't think that they can sell them and make back their, their investment on them, they're not going to build them. So, you know, sort of a one-off custom shop or something like that here and there for somebody custom orders. But Jim Woodard says, that was a good video. Maybe put my Wampler modded BD2 back on my board. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. That was thought that one came out pretty well. Both of those did actually. The shootout video and the Angry Driver video. So they base was hanging crooked there for some reason. Both of those videos came out pretty well. I'm actually really excited for the stuff that's going up this week, though. I think you guys, next couple of weeks, though, I think you guys will enjoy the content that's coming. It's not so much. I mean, there's some gear demos and stuff in there, but a little bit more higher profile things I've talked about, and definitely a surprise or two coming up that you guys are not going to expect, I don't think. So. But you got to watch them to see what I'm talking about. So, Ben Ace is working on 89 Ibanez EX350. Scarf joint was broken, but the fretboard wasn't. Neck is fixed. Floyd set. Now to the electronics. Man, unfortunately, I've never run into a problem, where a guitar's got, like the wood, there's any structural damage to the wood or something's warped or something like that. I don't know how to fix any of that stuff. I take all, if any of that ever does happen to me, I'll take all that stuff to Tony because he does know how to fix it. Let's see. Trent Ciccone says Jackson or Ibanez. For me, well, and again, depending on the model. For me, it'd be Jackson. Again, depending on the model. I love the old made in Japan, Japanese made Jacksons. Of course, the USA stuff is really, really good as well. I hate the JS series. Anything Jackson JS on it, I don't want anything to do with. So you can keep those. Some of the moderate priced ones, $800,000-$900,000 range ones that are, they're coming out of Mexico. Some of those models, a lot of those models used to be built in Japan, but the ones that come out of the Mexico factory are still pretty good too. Ibanez, most Ibanez guitars I think are actually pretty decent once you get over a certain price point, and even some of them, like there's a couple, a few, $300 and $400 models that are actually pretty decent guitars for the money that I wouldn't be afraid to play. But I don't know, man. We got, the truth is they're both putting out, they're both putting out some really, really nice guitars, but I miss the days of, if you couldn't afford US, then you bought Japan and, those guitars were just as good, but now, and Jackson just started building guitars in Japan again, and now they're costing $2,000. So, I miss the days of, the Japanese stuff being, the quality equivalent of the U.S. stuff, but but without the price tag. But now it's got the price tag too. Archer says Fender pissed me off by raising their prices. I understand why, but I don't like it. Well, nobody likes prices going up. It doesn't do anybody any good. From a consumer standpoint anyway, nobody likes a price increase. From a manufacturer standpoint, it's just the way of the world, man. Sometimes it's just the way. It's just what's got to happen. If we want these companies to keep staying in business, including Fender. So. And they didn't go up that much, $20, $30 depending on, there wasn't that huge of a price increase. See, Mike St. Croix here. Welcome, sir. Jason Heaton. You guys, if you haven't considered doing so yet, don't forget to support the channel. You can do so by clicking on the, you guys should be able to see the little glass jar thing on your screen. You can click there. You can click the little $sign there in the down below the chat box, or you can hit up the PayPal account link, which should be down in the description as well. If you would prefer to eliminate the middleman, any of those ways are fine. Or you can also buy yourself a T-shirt, and the link to my Teespring shop is pinned up there at the top too. So that way you get something back in return. So any support of the channel does go a long, long way. And that's money that I use to buy and flip gear, so that I have new stuff to demo for you guys. Is for the most, it's pretty much what all that stuff does. It all goes right back into the channel. Let's see. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? Oh yes, I am going to. Jim, if Jim's still here, if I think I am sitting down to record an episode of the Practical Guitarist podcast. I'm going to be a guest on Practical Guitarist podcast. I think that will be up later this week. I believe. I think you guys usually put those episodes up on Wednesday or Thursday these days. I can't recall. So assuming that that is accurate, keep an eye out on the Practical Guitarist podcast, because they are. This is the first time I've been on that show in probably a year and a half. So, ought to be a lot of fun. Where was I here? JG Mopar hitting up the PayPal account. Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much for the support, the continued support. Very much appreciate that. Very, very much. Let's see. Robert, do you have any experience with Lawler or Fralin pickups? Any preference? Those are two pickup companies I've never used before, to be honest with you. I think I played a buddy's guitar. I think he had it was one of those. I think it was a Lawler P90 it was a Charvel, and he had put a Lawler P90 in the neck position. Sounded pretty good, but that's probably literally the extent of my experience with either of those. I played a lot of Duncan, I played a lot of DeMars, I played a lot of Gibson, among others. But those two pickups I have never tried. Mike St. Croix says, "What, you got more fuzz pedals?" No, I do not have more fuzz pedals. Nope, no fuzz pedals for me. If I happen to acquire a fuzz pedal, you guys, I'm sure you guys will see it. But even though I likely won't have any freaking idea what to do with it. But Jason Heaton said, "I've had a Bad Monkey for years. Kind of want a Boss SD1. Worth it?" It's hard to say, because the Bad Monkey is, hey, there's another donation to the PayPal fund. I think that may have been from Jim. James, somebody, whoever that was, thank you very much for that. The Bad Monkey's pretty awesome. The Bad Monkey that might be one of the best Tube Screamer circuits out there, even though it's not made anymore and hasn't been for a long time. Uh-oh, troll on the thread. Some Russian dude. Not anymore. Douchebag. At least his username was in Russian Cyrillic. I guess I don't know if he's Russian or not. But anyway, Bad Monkey's probably one of the best Tube Screamer circuits out there, in my opinion. Certainly one of my favorites. The SD1's a classic. I love the SD1. The SD1 is, the original. I won't go into the whole story because I've talked about it recently here. But the SD1 is really Boss's original Tube Screamer circuit that was originally their circuit to begin with. Or a variation of it. So, SD1's a classic. SD1 sounds great. There's nothing wrong with the SD1. And me being a Boss fanatic, this is kind of hard to say, but between the two, I would probably have to go with the Bad Monkey. If I was going to use one or the other, and I knew that and that was going to be my choice, and I couldn't go back and forth like I like to do, I would probably have to go with the Bad Monkey. That Bad Monkey's pretty kick-ass. Pardon me. Matthew Perkins says, "Did you see Megadeth's tease on Epiphone on Gibson and Epiphone's Instagram pages? Looks like speculation was right. Apparently announcing on the 23rd. Yes, we did. We had, I just talked about that here a little bit ago. It's I think it's a pretty big deal for Gibson, which and I'm happy for Gibson for that. I think it's a pretty big deal. But Dave Mustaine's a big get for them. So, and I am curious to see what they build with his name on it." OG says the age of the mid-price guitar. Yeah, they're mid-priced. Ain't necessarily mid-priced anymore. I mean, the stuff that that Fender and Martin and Taylor that are making those companies make in their Mexico factories, is those are actually really good quality guitars. The problem is they're never going to be, worth anything on the vintage market, 25, 30 years from now. So, but there may have been a point in time when somebody said that about Japanese made guitars too. So I don't know. Okay, I guess I could be wrong. Let's see, JG Mopar, who I already said hello to, but hello again. Fried Rutabaga. There's a new username I'm not familiar with. So who builds Jackson these days? Jackson builds Jackson, but Jackson are owned by Fender, and they have been since God. What are they? I think Fender bought Jackson like 2003 or something like that, maybe even earlier. They've owned Jackson for a while. Or when I say that Jackson builds Jackson, they're the USA shop. The high-end USA stuff is, for the most part, still all the old, all those old luthiers that were building guitars for Jackson before they were sold to Fender. So, but the rest of all the factories now are, the rest of the stuff all comes out of Fender factories. Jason Heaton says audio volume is low. Let's see if that helps a little bit. But if I turn it up any more, then it's going to start clipping. But right now it's according to my little meter thing, it's hitting right in the yellow. So, which is right about where we want it. Let's see. Archer says the telly I was looking at went up $250 Canadian the other day. I was going to buy, walked away. That I don't know. I cannot account for Canadian prices. So, OG says American Standard telly I bought in 2008, $1,550 Canadian. Professional these days is $2,200. Only goes up inflation and such. I don't think that those have gone up too much, man. Because I remember selling American Standards, for like American Standard Strats in 2010 ish for $11.99, $12.99 tops. Is about what those are going for. And now the professional series are right around $14.99 10 years later. So, which that's not that big of a price increase. I remember deluxes, American deluxes back in that time frame were about $1,600, $1,700, and now they're hovering right around $19,000, $2,000. A few of them are like 21. So, again, for 10 years, I mean, that's just inflation is all that is. That's going to happen. Fried Rutabaga says that new Benson Fuzz is pretty darn awesome. Never heard of him. Benson Fuzz. I don't know anything about that. like I said, but I don't keep up with fuzz pedals and stuff unless it's just something that's absolutely blowing up my Facebook feed or something. It's kind of hard for me not to hear about that. That Chase Bliss Zvex Fuzz Factory collaboration weirdo thing. So, if somebody gives me one of those, I'm gonna have to demo it and just make fun of it. But just to see how many more people I can piss off. But I highly doubt that both of those companies are probably going to want to try to keep one out of my hands as much as possible. B Smiley's here, says I'm a doom metal sludgy fuzz kind of guy. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just not. Archer says, depending on pickup set, research Fralin pickups are well made pickup, and their customer service is fantastic. I don't. I think you might be You might be addressing somebody else in the chat rather than me. But I mean, I don't. I don't go out of my way to modify guitars very often these days anymore. Just because number one, I don't have time for it. Number two, if a guitar doesn't have pickups and and stuff, and all that kind of stuff in it when I buy it, I honestly I don't have any interest in it anymore. And buying that stuff just for the sake of spending more money on parts, and then sometimes I got to spend more money on labor to pay somebody to put them in for me, and I'm not big on modifying instruments. I get why people are, and I've talked about this several times. I get why people are, but it's just not for me. I'll do something specific if it's necessary, but I'm not going to buy a guitar with the intention the first thing I got to do is pull the pickups out of it. So. JD Mopar says, I love the Boss SD1. I need to get a Bad Monkey. That bottom end control on the Bad Monkey is the difference maker. If you take that away from the Bad Monkey, it's and turn the high control into a standard tone control, they're real similar. But the two band EQ on the Bad Monkey makes all the difference in the world, and that's probably the reason why I would go that route. It's also, I think the Bad Monkey might actually have a little bit more oomph behind it as far as gain goes. If you're wanting to crank the gain on one of those things, Bad Monkey might give you just a little bit more. Archer says, "Dick for controls. Who needs them?" You are correct, but that doesn't stop him from from frequenting this channel. Trust me, matter of fact, I think that was that same douchebag that was doing the same thing last week. Had to be, because he was typing the exact same thing. So. Jim Woodard says, I wouldn't switch between the two. I would stick with the Bad Monkey and just get an SD1 when you can afford it. They do such different things. That is true. They're both based on the same, on the same circuit type, but they are different pedals. So, Zakk Wylde used an SD1 for years before MXR came out with his signature overdrive, and this, the Zakk Wylde signature overdrive is based on the SD1. So. B Smiley III says vape mail ban goes into effect on April 1st. I haven't read too much about what all that's affecting. If it's just liquid, I buy all my stuff local anyway. So, and I am trying to back off on it and put it down all together here one of these days. So, sooner rather than later. Let's see. Dave Escobar says Bad Monkey used to be a bargain. I'd buy used or I'd buy when I used to see one in pawn shops. No longer see them in pawn shops. No, they people discovered them. People discovered them and discovered that they're pretty awesome pedals. And you're right. You used to be able to pick those things up dirt cheap. I bought mine for $25, and a year later, the same. I bought mine used at a Guitar Center for $25, and a year later, that same Guitar Center had another one in about the same condition as mine. They sold for $60. So sold for $60. So yeah, they've the guitar world has discovered them. Let's see. Fat Albert 12 is here. Let me make sure I said hello to everybody first. David Lincoln, E.M. White. Let's see. Is that all that I see in here? That had popped in. Ian Nunez. And then the Troll Dude is back. After I put him in timeout. Man, that's dedication there. Well, you called me a douchebag. It was a joke. You were telling me you wanted to see me naked. Like a douchebag. Fucking trolls. Let's see. Ian White says, I still use a Digitech Screamin' Blues. Screamin' Blues is another one of my favorite overdrives. I love that pedal. Love that pedal. That's their, if you're not familiar with it, that's their blues driver circuit. That's the Digitech blues driver circuit. At least it was in that era, and it sounds kick ass. I like that one quite a bit. Dave Escobar says Hardwire Overdrive. I keep meaning to. People seem to be snatching those up now too. I can't find those anywhere. All the Hardwire stuff is getting snatched up. Somebody must have done a demo of a few of those things, and all of a sudden everybody realized, oh shit, these are cheap. I know I demoed a couple of them about a year or so ago, but. Matthew Perkins says Dave Mustaine's Instagram has a tease as well. Looks like a flying V on quote unquote 3 brands. Sounds like there'd be a Kramer as well as Gibson Epiphone. That'd be cool. Be very cool. David Lincoln says, "What is your favorite amp?" Also says audio volume sounds fine. So I'm okay. I'm not messing with the audio anymore. What's your favorite Fender amp? Favorite Fender amp, no question for me, is the Supersonic. I love Fender Supersonic. I particularly like the 60 watt combo and the 100 watt heads. Those are it's got a couple of different clean tones in there to choose from, and a couple of different gain tones, and I mean that amp can do. It's a high gain amp too, so that amp can do everything. It does Fender cleans, it does great rock tones, does great metal tones out of that thing. Those things sound killer. I love the Supersonic. Love to have one. JD Mopar says, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, please don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already, that would be a big help. YouTube does pay pretty close attention to that metric, and I'm terrible about asking people to hit the like button. Jim Woodard says Paisley Deluxe is a... Oh, shit. You know what? I forgot. Okay, yeah, I covered that one. Okay. Says Paisley Deluxe is great, as is the Pelican Noiseworks 5050. You can get one. I was lucky enough to get it. They're not expensive when they come out, but you have to watch for when they release them. Paisley Deluxe. Paisley Deluxe, I think that's the that's the Wampler pedal that you're talking about. Pelican Noiseworks 5050. That one I'm not familiar with. I will have to keep a look-see out for that. Vanity Guitar says we need more crossover for content. I am actually working on my very first collaboration video. I think I will be working on that this coming week. So that should be fun. I'm not going to say any more than that, but that should be fun. Jim says, yes, Zvex has probably sold a bunch of those things because of you, which is just hilarious. Oh, I'm quite sure that I've sold a shitload of Fuzz Factories. I've received many comments that bought a Fuzz Factory just to spite me. Or because my video was so ridiculous that's exactly what they wanted. I if I ever get the chance to meet Zachary, Vex in person, I'm going to look forward to that conversation. I don't have any ill will towards the guy at all. I mean, he seems to hate me, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to bet that video has sold a bunch of Fuzz Factory pedals for Zvex, which is good. I mean, I'm absolutely all in favor of that. I'm glad that it has. That's good for everybody. Good to see you. Who's Rob? Nope. Bernie still locked in the case with. Kobiel says, "Is the Bernie still locked in the case with the headset?" That's not a Bernie that's locked in the case. It's a Gibson. It's typically a fake Gibson. I think it's actually got a fake ESP headstock on it though. Regardless, yes, it's still locked in the case and sitting in the same place forever. I'll go pull it out of there one of these days. Fried Rutabaga says, speaking of trolls, we need to know your troll vid. I kind of backed off on doing those for a while because the last one that I did, I let my emotions get the best of me with one in particular, and I kind of took it a little bit too far. I've since gone back and edited that portion out, but a couple of my peers, a couple of other creators, one creator that mentioned something to me on YouTube I don't care about, but a couple of others that did mention it to me said that the first individual was right, and I kind of sat back and thought about it, and and they were right. I did take it a little bit too far, so I kind of backed off on them for a little bit, and I don't want to be. I don't want to be the the negative, be the source of negativity on YouTube. We've got plenty of that, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to do another one. So. Kobe Out says, is a treble booster a distinct pedal over an EQ pedal? Do they have an overlap in function? They can. Overdrive pedals, I'm sorry, EQ pedals rather. Especially if it's an EQ pedal with a volume, with a volume or a level control, like the Boss GE7, for example. Those absolutely are great boost pedals, especially if you put them in the loop. For the longest time, before I started amassing pedals like crazy, my favorite boost pedal was a Boss GE7 in the effects loop, and that's what I used. Now, what has happened here recently, the term boost, especially in metal, in the circles of metal guitar players, has kind of changed. The definition of that has changed. When and I'm showing my age here, but, when somebody mentions the term boost to me, I automatically think about, an actual boost pedal, something that boosts either the level or the gain, depending on where it's placed in the signal chain. Like the TC Spark Boost, the Pigtronics Class A Boost, stuff like that. Those are actual legitimate boost pedals to me. But in the metal circles, now when they talk about a boost, they're talking about running an overdrive into the front end to tighten up the bottom end of it. Tighten up the bottom end of their amplifiers. That's something I've never, I get it, but, if it's, I don't like the idea of buying an amplifier that I automatically have to run a pedal into the front of it, get the sound out of it that I want. If the amp doesn't do what I want it to do, as soon as I pull it out of the box, that's a problem for me. Anyway, and also, adding an overdrive. I've noticed adding an overdrive to the front end of a high gain amp. I've noticed the difference is nominal at best. Again, my opinion. So, depending on what your definition of the word boost is, if you're going with the traditional definition that I am familiar with, boost pedals and EQ pedals can oftentimes, depending on the application, be used interchangeably. You're not going to be able to use an EQ pedal for an overdrive in most cases, like you would be able to with a boost. And that is actually a lot of fun to do, by the way, is using a boost pedal as an overdrive. That's a little bit different sound. But, so there are some limitations, but a lot of times there are, as you put it, an overlap in application. So, Ian Nunez is going to try something new, a synth pedal by Source Audio, C4 pedal. Source Audio makes some really, really cool pedals, but there's, every one that I've had, there is a little bit of a learning curve involved with them just because they pack a lot into those boxes. So, be patient with it if you haven't gotten it yet. But, they are really, really cool once you get them set up and get them figured out what you need to do. How is the Digitech Tone Driver? I've never played that pedal, to be honest with you. I've seen it around a lot. I got to assume, it's right around that same era that the Bad Monkey and those pedals all came out. I've got to assume it's got to be the same quality. I think the same guy designed them, actually. So, I wouldn't be afraid of it. I doubt it's a Tube Screamer circuit, but I don't know. I would, I should... If I run across one, I will definitely need to check that one out because I've seen them around forever, but I've never never actually sat down and plugged one in. Archer says, "Hey, my Amazon shipment arrived. New socks. Woohoo!" Everybody loves getting new socks. My wife loves new socks. Hayden Hartley says, "Reinventing the Steel" or Saint Anger. Definitely Saint Anger for me, man. Reinventing the Steel. There was one song on that record that I actually enjoy listening to. The rest of it was absolute. I love Pantera, but that record was garbage. I hated Reinventing the Steel. Saint Anger, on the other hand, had at least a few tracks on it that I enjoyed when it came out. Despite the sound of the snare drum. Actually, the rest of that, I think that album's actually aced pretty well. So, people are finally starting to get an appreciation for what they did that time. I doubt Metallica, there's still going to be the contingency fans that hate that record and always hate that record. So Metallica are probably never going to start playing any of the songs live. But I think I always... for the most part, I always liked it. It was not their best record by any means. It was certainly a departure. It was a lot different, but it's listenable. Trent Draconi says, "Metallica or Megadeth or Slayer?" You must be new here if you're asking that question. Asking me that question. No, Metallica. No question. Metallica are my all-time favorite band. I love Megadeth and I love Slayer too, but James Hetfield is the reason why I play guitar today. So it's and the reason why I've always played guitar. He's the reason why I picked one up. So I am a huge, huge Metallica fan. B. Smiley says, I guess I got my 2-note torpedo in the mail. You're going to have fun with that, man. You know, it's a great unit. I've got one sitting right here, and I really, really like it. I don't get to use it as often as I wish I could. You know, I take that back. I guess I could. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck because I really like my Laney IRT Studio that I use, and I record with that amp a lot. You know, and one thing about that amp that is really, really handy is it's got a built-in load box, so I don't need to worry about plugging it into into a cab or into a load box of some kind, because it's got one built in, so it's not. I can turn it on without plugging it into anything like that. It's never going to blow up. It's got a lot of other features on it too, and it's all tube. But I run that one direct into one of the inputs on my interface, and then I like to use my 2-notes wall of sound virtual cabs on the back end of that amp. I've got the Torpedo Live out here, so that if I actually bring one of my other amps out here to record, I plug those amps into pardon me. I plug those amps into the Torpedo Live. So, but all the 2-note stuff is awesome, by the way. So do not be afraid to, don't be afraid to spend money with 2-notes. You won't be disappointed. Benjamin Ezel with a contribution to the PayPal account. Thank you, sir. Again, just as a reminder, if you guys want to support the channel, you are more than welcome to do so. It's greatly appreciated. You can click the little dollar sign down there below the chat, or the little glass, what's supposed to be a tip jar thing here on right there on the screen, or by the Teespring link up there at the top of the chat, or the PayPal link in the description. So all of that goes right back into supporting the channel. So that's where that money goes. It's all greatly appreciated. So thank you all very much for those of you that have contributed. Let's see. OG says Metallica's wicked awesome Twitch stream last night. What up with that? I don't know. I'm not on Twitch, so I don't know what they were doing on Twitch. They have been pretty active with like live streams, and they've been posting videos of some of their older shows on their YouTube channel about once a week. Especially during the pandemic. So, they've been pretty active in staying connected with their fans over the last year when nobody's been touring. So, B. Smiley says, I like Bathory and Dissection. If you're talking about Zoltan Bathory from Five Finger Death Punch, I agree with you. If there's a band called Bathory that I'm not familiar with them. Pardon me. Fat Philosopher is here. Says, good evening from Japan. I suppose we have already talked about Mustaine. Yes, we have. We've already talked about Dave Mustaine. We've already talked about Dave Mustaine a couple of times, actually. So, but news is news. It was announced that he signed with Gibson. Several weeks back. So it shouldn't be that big of a shock to everybody. But still. The trailer that Gibson put out for it, though, I thought was pretty cool. Let's see. Ricky Compton's here. Welcome, sir. A6XX Oasis. Timothy Plonk is here. Says, hey, Robert, love the channel. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Glad to have you. Glad to have all of you here, as a matter of fact. Glad to have all of you here. What are we up to? About 34 people hanging out. I'd love to get up to the point. I don't know how Pete Thorne and Fluff and those guys, they pull in 500, 600, 700 viewers in their live streams. Well, yeah, I do because they got bigger audiences than I do, but still, it's a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll get there one day. I've got a new video series planned that's coming up that is designed specifically to, to grow the channel here this year, which is something I really want to try to get it to the next level. So, up around the 40, 50,000 subscriber mark if I can. That's a pretty lofty goal for me, but I don't know that I'll get there, but if I can at least knock a dent in it, I'll be pretty happy. Plus, this new video series that I'm talking about ought to be a lot of fun. Trent Cerconi says, who in your opinion makes the best solid state amps? Ooh, boy. Ugh. Best solid state amps. Roland would have to be up there. Randall would have to be up there. Ooh, boy. Coulter Labs. Coulter Labs is definitely up there. Those amps are absolutely kick-ass. God, who else? Current manufacturers, anyway. Yeah, that's, and there's been a lot of others, that, legendary tube amps that have come out, from various companies over the, like Ampeg, that VH140C. Everybody still has a huge boner over that amp today, and those things are worth upwards of $1,000 on the used market. So, there's a lot of them. If I had to name it down to one company, honestly, it would probably be a toss-up between Roland and Randall. And Coulter Labs. I can't leave Coulter Labs out of that either, man. Those things are killer. Those three, I don't know how I would pick just one. Because all three of them are different from each other, but let's see. Fat Philosopher says A Justice for All was the last good Metallica album. I disagree with that completely. Black Album was, its popularity alone disproves that. What the hell was that? Just because a record's popular doesn't mean it's good. No, yes it does. Yes it does. Might not mean that you have to like it, but it does mean that it is a good. It is. That's the measuring stick for a good record. So Black Album. The Load albums, I was really into them at the time that they came out, and they've still got a few tracks on each of them that I do enjoy. I talked about Saint Anger earlier. I don't think that one has not turned out to be, with the exception of the snare drum, that thing has not turned out to be as big of a turd as everybody thought it was. Death Magnetic was a huge step back in the right direction. Everybody wanted to see at the time. That's a great record. And Hardwired, their most recent album, I think is probably I listen to that record all the time. Actually, I think that's one of the best things they've done in years. Great album. So I like just about everything Metallica's put out. No, I'm not talking about Lulu. Let's see. JG Mopar said 86 was a good year. Metallica's Master of Puppets. Like, God, Rain and Blood was 86. Honestly, I thought it was earlier than that. Yeah, oh well. Still, yeah, great record. Ricky Compton says my all-time favorite metal band would be Iron Maiden. I'm a huge Maiden fan too, man. I got to see them was it 2 years ago now? Yeah, almost 2 years ago. I didn't see nobody saw anybody last year. Yeah, Maiden. That was the second time I've seen him here in the last several years. God, great live show. Great band altogether. Love Maiden. Judas Priest, too. Love both of those bands. Scott Manning. What's up, dude? Scott says, I just bought Torpedo Reloader. Like I said, man, if you're buying two notes anything, buy with confidence. So, especially, you for your purposes, especially, you're gonna like that thing quite a bit, I think. And I think all of the two notes, if you bought them new anyway, I think all of the two notes products come with, they give you like 16 cabs out of the wall of sound or something like that, that you can download for free. It's like 16 virtual cabs. Archer's heading out for the weekend. Thank you, sir. Thanks for hanging, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, dude. I got after once we're done here, which isn't going to be, we still got another hour or so to go, at least. I got to put a shelf together for my. I'm in the middle of overhauling some things in my guitar room, so and part of that includes putting together a new shelf that I bought at IKEA this week, and I've got these two old bookshelves in there that I hate because they're old and ugly and they suck. And I've had them forever, but like I said, they suck. So I got to get those out of here. Fried Rutabaga says Master Puppets is the record that lit my fire for guitar. Mine too, actually. That was I've been, as Master of Puppets, that was when I really became a fan of Metallica. Colby says, Robert, you may have spoken to this before, but have you ever bought a PRS? I've never seen you with one. I've owned a couple of the SEs. I think I've had 3 of them, I think. But I've, they had all. I had a Paul Allender, one of the first generation Paul Allender's, one of the ones with the passive pickups and the gold hardware. They had the gold hardware and the passive PRS pickups, not the EMG models. I had one of those, and I had a custom 24, I think, a couple of custom 24s, and they were okay. They played fine. They played, the Allender would not stay in tune. That thing would not stay in tune to save its life. But the other two, seem to have better tuning stability. But tone-wise, at that time, and I'm dialing amps in much differently now than I was at that time. So I would probably, if I still had them, I would probably feel differently. But at that time, they were really, really okay sounding to me. And I was just real moderate output pickups that just didn't do a whole lot for me. Great guitars, and they sounded okay. They didn't sound bad. It just didn't sound quite like how I wanted them to. And I've been in the EMI business long enough to know what happens to the value of a anything PRS when you modify it. It just it's like an insta tank. So I ended up I moved all of them on. And that was all before I started my channel. So none of them ever made an appearance on my YouTube channel. I would, especially nowadays, I would like to own a core model. I would really like to find a core model that I would really like, but goddamn, those things are expensive. So I mean, it'd have to be one on the used market somewhere that was, the right guitar. And I'm not shopping for anything like that right now. Right now, I'm banking everything that I can to buy this damn Les Paul Custom that's been eluding me for my entire life. Hopefully this year. That's what I want to do. Ricky Compton says, I see Gibson put out a teaser video for the new Mustaine guitar. Yes, it has. Yes, they have. We've talked about that quite a bit here today already. Big deal for Gibson, I think. Big deal for Gibson. Congratulations to Gibson for signing Dave Mustaine. Like I said, that's a big get for them. Hmm. OG says Twitch pulled their stream, referring to Metallica, pulled their stream for copyright and replaced it with elevator music. Napster comes full circle. Whoa. They pulled their stream. They pulled Metallica's own stream due to copyright infringement of their own music. Interesting. Okay, well, it looks like I won't be getting involved with Twitch anytime soon. No, what a bunch of cocksuckers. It's obviously, an algorithm or something that they've got set up that, that incorrectly detected it. Bullshit is what that is. Hey, Park Kingery hitting up the super chat. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The mail, I checked the mail today, by the way, and it has not yet arrived, so it hasn't. I don't know if that pedal you sent me has shown up yet. It hadn't right before I started my live stream here today. Pardon me. JG Mopar says Rush is awesome, one of my favorites. I love Rush as well. I'm a big Rush fan. I was crushed last year when Neil Peart passed. I've seen Rush live. I don't know how many times, half a dozen probably. Just a great band, man. 3 uber talented musicians. It's amazing that just 3 musicians could get that huge of a sound. When they're all playing together. So, yeah, Rush is a great band. Ace XXX Oasis says, "What is your favorite drink?" I've been listening to Roundabout by Yes. What makes the bass sound so good in that song as well? I'm not a big Yes fan, so not that I don't like them. I just they're just not a band that I've ever gotten into. I recognize they're hugely talented, but that particular song I'm not familiar with. So that part I can't answer. As far as what my favorite beverage might be, I kind of go back and forth. Right now, I've been drinking a lot of Gatorade and sports drinks and stuff lately. Sparkling water. Drink a lot of sparkling water, iced tea, flavored tea, stuff like that. I don't drink alcohol, so most of that kind of stuff. Don't drink too many. Try to stay away from the soft drinks. Try to anyway. Try to stay away from the soft drinks these days, unless it's unless it's a diet, something or other, doesn't have any sugar in it. But that is about as exciting as I get on the beverage front. JD Mopar says best solid state amp Gorilla GG20. There is a cult following of those old Gorilla amps, man. You can't kill the damn things. There's still plenty of them out there to find on the used market. Search Reverb, you'll probably find one or two. Fat Philosopher says Fender Acoustasonic or Kiesel VA6 Zeus. I'm not familiar with that Kiesel. Let's have a look-see. Kiesel VA6 Zeus. Nope. Did I spell Kiesel right? Is it K-E-I or K-I-E? I thought it was K-I-E. I spelled it right. Looks like there aren't many searches for your search. Let's just try VA6, see what comes up. Hmm. Let's try the Zeus. That's one of their headless models, like a single cut, weird telly looking thing. Hmm. So the Acoustasonic or the Zeus, I'm gonna have to go with neither. I'm gonna have to go with neither. Yeah, neither one of those things are doing it for me. Let's see. Terence Coney says growing your audience would be hard. I can imagine you could try doing collabs and stuff like that. Yeah, and that's part of what I have planned. It's YouTube's a slow burn. I don't know, man. It's with me, I've been doing this for over 5 years now, and I'm at 23,000 subscribers. So which I'm not complaining about, but then there's guys like like Stay Metal Ray, for example. He's been he probably started at least 2 years after I did, maybe 3, and he's already up in 32, 33,000. He passed me here in the last year, so he's I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something right. Just as that's one example. Arnold plays guitar. There's another one that's another guy that started up I think after I did, and I could be wrong about that though. But his audience is growing quite a bit too. Fat Philosopher says, been listening to a lot of Rush lately. Roll the Bones. Great record. Great, love that record. Dreamline. Dreamline might be my favorite Rush song. It's definitely in the top 5. I love Dreamline. Let's see. Ian Nunez says Black Album lacks more cowbell. No cowbell, and I don't think there's much of a ride cymbal on that one either. Lars Ulrich doesn't like ride cymbals very much. Says he doesn't like the way they feel. Which I'm not a drummer, so I'm not saying that that's right or wrong or indifferent, but yeah, he don't like them, so. But the list of Metallica songs that actually feature a ride cymbal in them that's actually a really, really short list. So, Park Kingery says, I'm looking at the torpedo stuff. Once you figure out which one's the best fit for you, man, like I said, buy with confidence. Buy with confidence. Jim says, no, you have to keep saving for the Les Paul cuss. Yes, I have committed myself. I'm not going to buy any more guitars or anything like that until I buy that one. So, and it's first thing I got to do is pay down my GC credit card. And I'll be a few months yet getting that paid off. But once I can do that, once I get that paid off, I'll be able to save up a little bit more, a little bit faster, and hopefully be able to. I'm hoping I can pull it off by the summertime. So, Fat Philosopher says, I just played my first live show in over a year. Lead singer was so excited she ran me over on stage. Good. Well, yeah, I've talked to a few people here in the last week or two that are finally able to start getting back out there and playing again. There hadn't been not too many, but a few. So it's. I think the world is definitely heading back in the right direction. Fat Philosopher says, I wonder what guitar Mustaine used on his latest album. I think he's got a couple of holdover Jackson King V's, that he still uses in the studio. I think. I don't know. I would assume. So I would assume he probably reached for one of those. So I've never seen him play in anything that anything that wasn't a V or an Explorer shaped guitar, or unless it was one of his older, he played a BC Rich Bitch for a long time early in his career. Man. Fat Philosopher says Slash and Mustaine are really good friends. I wonder if he recruited Mustaine. That I don't know. Honestly, I doubt it. Dave Mustaine's a big boy. He can, he can negotiate his own endorsement deals, and has done so pretty well, I think. So, but Slash probably signed off on it, I'm sure. Gave him gave Gibson the do it, but or maybe he didn't have anything to do with it at all. I don't know. Fat Philosopher says maybe Mustaine should have stayed with the ESP. The Axion is the best designed Mustaine guitar ever. Well, he didn't think so, and I think there was also there's something up with that, because he was only with ESP for like a year, and I think those, there was something that was, something with that deal that just didn't sit right with him, and there was just something that was off with him, which is why he jumped ship and went to Dean. And God, he was with Dean for 15 years, something like that, probably, maybe more. JG Mopar says the GG20 is terrible. I had one when I was I had one. I was joking. Don't buy a Gorilla GG20. I don't want to get beat up for suggesting it. I think we all knew you were joking, dude. But I meant what I said, man. Those you couldn't kill the damn things. They're still out there. Plenty of them. Dave Escobar says, when I quit alcohol and drugs, I found out I had a lot more money for my guitar hobby. Yeah, I think a lot of people figure that out as well. Fat Philosopher says, State Metal Ray got a big boost when he got endorsed by Dean for defending them in the Gibson lawsuit. Video ran a year ago. Now he's making videos of his new Les Paul. Yep, I saw that. He's I know Ray. He and I are friends. So. But yeah, I guess he did get a pretty big boost from Dean. Now that I think about it, but he's actually really, really good at recording and mixing. So Allen Aviation says gear channels that do good on YouTube seem to work on stuff. Robert, you should do some soldering. Nope. I'm not a. I care a lot more about how it performs. About how gear performs rather than doing like how to instructional videos, repairs and mods and upgrades and stuff like that. It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. And I hate doing that stuff. God, I hate it. I hate setting up. I do it because I'm a guitar player and I have to, but restringing and setting up and working on guitars and stuff, that's I don't enjoy it at all. And if I'm going to shoot a video of me doing something I'm not enjoying at all, I mean that's just going to translate to the viewer. I mean that's not. I don't think that's a very good fit for me at all. Hey, Pedal Guy's here. What's up, dude? Kobe says, Robert, triple humbucker guitars are a tad rare. Do you have any experience with them? Yeah, I own an Epiphone Black Beauty Les Paul. They're the 3 pickup Les Paul custom. The Epiphone line. That was my first Les Paul, as a matter of fact. I've had that thing for, God, when did I buy that? 15 years ago? Something like that. I think it's an 06 or an 07 model. Something. I don't know. I don't remember, but I've had it forever. And haven't changed a thing on it. So that one that was my favorite main guitar for a long, long time. Says I work to support my guitar habit. I do too. I've got a full time job just like everybody else. So, although by triple humbucker guitars, if you're talking about guitars with three humbuckers in it, which I assume is what you're talking about, then that's what my answer was for. But it just occurred to me that you might be talking about the one of those guitars that has like a triple bucker in it. Like I think even Fender's done a guitar that's got like a three rail, a three rail pickup in it before. If you're talking about something like that, those I've never played. I don't know what the difference in sound would be there, but. Oh well. Hey, Pedal Guy says he's getting ready to do his live stream. What time is your what time you start your live streams? I know you're West Coast, so you're gonna be 3 hours behind me. But when you're done here, go check out the Pedal Guy's live stream. Sounds like he's getting ready to go live here in a bit. So don't be afraid to go check out and hang out there. He's more into pedals than I am. Noon, he says. So, which would be 3 o'clock here. So, yeah, it'd be right about the time I'm finishing up. So, cool. So yeah. All right. I'm actually managing to stay caught up in the chat for a change this week, which is rare. You guys are usually talking. You guys are usually typing and chatting faster than I'm talking. So, yeah. Crazy Cook 678 says, Robert, what do you think of the Wolfgang Van Halen's live song the other night? I thought it was very good. If what was it? Was it Jimmy Kimmel, or it was one of the talk shows that they performed on? It was, honestly, I thought it was real meh. It didn't sound like a Van Halen song, which was good. It shouldn't have sounded like a Van Halen song, And I thought, lyrically, and and especially with all the pictures and stuff going on, that they were showing of he and his dad in the backdrop, behind the stage. I thought it was a great tribute to his dad. I thought it was a great tribute to his father. And, that part of it actually damn near brought a tear to my eye. But the song itself, matter of fact, Jim shared that on Facebook, and that's where I saw it for the first time. And, the song was okay. It was maybe a little on the poppy side for me, but it was okay, not great. I mean, he played literally 4 notes in that guitar solo, and that was, I thought that was a little bit disappointing because he is a far, far, far more talented musician than that. So, I guess that's where I was a little bit let down. I mean, it was, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard by any stretch. So I mean, it wasn't bad, but I thought that. I don't know. Yeah, it was okay. I don't see it turn into a big huge hit for him, unfortunately. Fat Philosopher says 4 a.m. here. Better get back to bed. Got to stay up late tomorrow to bid on an ESP-FRX on Yahoo Auctions Japan. Cool. Good luck, man. Hope you win it. Scott Manning says, do you normally use the Laney IRT Studio for your demos? These days anyway, most of the time, yeah. Pedal demos in particular, I use it for just about anything, it's got a great clean sound, great clean channel in it for that kind of stuff, great effects loop. I mean, it's a great it checks a lot of boxes, a lot of boxes in the studio as far as a studio amplifier goes. When I'm recording, when I'm shooting demos and stuff back in my guitar room, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I'm usually using my Randall Diavolo RD20 head, because I really like the clean sound of that amp as well. So, but yep, out here, if you're late, which has been the case most of the time lately, Laney IRT Studio gets used an awful lot. Jim says, I'm doing the year no gear this year, so no new gear until 2022. Trying to get the most out of what I have. I don't understand the year of no gear. I understand why you're doing it, but I absolutely get it. But for me, buy new gear and getting a hold of new gear, that's part of the fun for me. So let's face it, I mean, I'm more into the gear than anything. I sell it a hell of a lot better than I play it. Fat Philosopher says Hagar is greater than Roth. I'm actually a Van Hagar fan myself, as far as Van Halen. I like the early, the David Lee Roth era stuff too. But I agree. I think they were a better band with Sammy Hagar. William Silva says I put an SD Pegasus and a whole lot of humbucker in my Balaguer last week. Great combo. Yeah, you mentioned that you were swapping pickups out in that thing, so glad you found a good. I've not played the whole lot of humbucker. That's one of the more recent models from Seymour Duncan, but I've heard a few demos. It sounds pretty good. Jim Woodard says, beautiful tribute. I was unimpressed with the song. It was Rebecca Black musically, referring to Wolfgang Van Halen's new song. Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt. Beautiful tribute. Pretty. The song. The song itself I thought was lackluster. JG Mopar says, every time I say no gear this year, something comes out and I cave. That's why I don't bother to say that. I will say that I have kind of, I've started to sell a few things that were just sitting around collecting dust that I knew I was likely never going to use again. Like, my Cook, I had that Cook home box, load box, dummy box thing. I did a demo with that, and I used it a time or two after that and never used it again, because I got my 2 notes captor not too long after that, and, that blew away the Cook, the dummy box. So, so I sold that. I sold one of the Joyo amps. I sold, a couple of the, Donner sends me a pedal to demo every now and again, and I almost never have any interest in, the last one was a looper pedal that I knew I was never going to have any interest in keeping. So I moved that one along. Stuff like that. I'll probably unload a few more things here as well. Pedal Guy says Laney is totally underrated. For the most part, I agree with you. I do not like the AORs. I cannot stand that damn bass boost control on it. And I've talked about that in the past, but the bass control on those AORs, and I'm told that that when you really crank those things up to stage volume, this problem goes away. And I've never gigged with one, so I don't know, but but with that amp, all those amps, have push pulls on the EQ controls to give you boosts to those particular frequencies, and on the bass control especially, when you with the bass, with the boost not engaged and the bass all the way up, it isn't enough, and then when you pull out the pot to engage the boost, and then you turn it all the way down, then it's too much. So there's this gap in there that you can't get to, and and right there is the gap that you can't get to is that's the sweet spot. So that's why I've never gotten along with the Laneys. The AORs, that is. They've got. I do agree with you though. They do have a ton of other, plenty of other amps that that I do like. I think that the Ironheart series, like this IRT Studio, Ironheart series are great. What is the BL series that are great. I think they've put out a lot of great amps over the years. I just don't care for the AORs. Let's see. Where are we? Jim Woodard says, "Gear, no gear. It's harder to stick to than you think, especially with friends like you." Savannah Guitar says, "You see Fluff and Petrucci?" I did. As a matter of fact, I watched that. I watched that video this morning. I saw that he posted it yesterday, and so I kind of had it, on the back burner for when I had time, and I finally had time to watch it this morning. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a great interview. It was I always enjoy John Petrucci interviews because he's he's for as much as that dude is just a monster guitar player, and a monster musician. He's just, I kind of get the impression that he views himself as just another regular guy, and that's just what he happens to do for a living. And he happens to enjoy what he does for a living, So, yeah, regardless, I thought it was a really, really good interview and, some good insight. I learned a few things about his relationship with Ernie Ball that I didn't know before. And Fluff said one thing that he said a lot of things, but one thing in particular that I absolutely agree with, and that as much as I love, you guys that follow my channel, you all know how much I love my Music Man Majesty, and I'm gonna be buried with that freaking guitar. As much as I love John Petrucci, and as much as I love, Petrucci is one of my favorite guitar players. He's definitely in the top, probably top 10, maybe top 5. Of my list. But as much as I love John Petrucci, as much as I love Dream Theater, the reason, my connection with my Music Man Majesty and the reason why I bought it has absolutely nothing to do with either one of those things. It's just simply a great, the best guitar I've ever played. And I love everything about it. So, that was my thoughts. But yeah, I did see it, and I thought it was a great video and a great interview. Congrats to Fluff, by the way, for for landing that. That's not easy to land an interview with with somebody like John Petrucci. But he's worked hard and he's earned himself the connections to be able to make stuff like that happen now. So that's good to see. Chop It Up says, "I know you're a rock guy, but what do you think about the Ramones?" They're not my favorite. They're like one of the first, maybe not the first, but one of the earliest punk bands. Is what they are, and they're definitely trailblazers in that regard. Put out plenty of hits, but I'm not. I don't itch to listen to the Ramones when I get in the car to go drive somewhere. So, says, "Have you heard the new star called Botoy?" No idea what that is. No. Let's see. JG Mopar says, "When I was younger, I bought and sold gear all the time. Now I seem to hoard. I think me letting my Marshall JCM 800s go in the early 90s and the regret makes me not sell my gear anymore." I actually went the other way. And, well, kind of. I mean, I still hoard, but I've always hoarded. I've don't really sell. I don't really sell too much anyway. Unless it's something I just don't get along with. But or just didn't fall in love with. No, I'm never gonna need that kind of thing. But I really haven't sold that much gear in my lifetime. I regretted selling my first Blue Voodoo half stack, and which is why I just recently bought another one. Another head anyway. So that was probably the big one that I can think of. My dad had a 1952 Martin D18 that was his guitar. When he was a kid and in college, he played in a band in college and stuff, and he hung on to it. And as I grew up, and that was my first. That was the acoustic guitar that I banged around on in the house. As he didn't play it anymore. And one day he got up early and grabbed hold. He got up early and pulled that thing out of the closet and took it down to a guitar shop and sold it without telling me about it. And that's probably the thing that made me say I'm never selling any of my gear. If unless I absolutely have to. Unfortunately, I've never been in a position where I've absolutely had to sell anything. So. Park Kingery says, were you able to snag one of the new Peppers pedal? Yes, I was, as a matter of fact. It has shipped. It has shipped, and it is on the way. Don't tell anybody what that is, because I'm going to say that one as a surprise. There's only 14 of those, I think he said. That's all he's making. So I'm pretty fortunate. I got my hands on one of those. That's pretty exciting. Though there is an alternative. Let's see. Dave Escobar says, gear for 2021. Anything I can get a pawn shop for a screaming deal. Old Rat gear, 80s metal guitars, USA made guitars, Gunslinger, Old Charvello Jackson, ESP. That's a pretty long list. I kind of got my eyes peeled for a decent rack mount preamp of some kind, just because I kind of want to see what all the hoopla is about for guitar recording setups like I have. I see guys that have I'm not, they got a Helix or an Axe-Fx or something like that. I'm not going to spend the money on anything like that, but it might be happening. I can see where it might be helpful to have something I could plug in for a quick amp model here now and then if I need it. But there's also the possibility I could get something like that and rack it up, and it's going to sit there and collect dust. So, man, I'm coughing. Joe Trey says, "Good afternoon, Robert. Are you happy about getting Carson Wentz?" I think getting the Colts getting Carson Wentz is a lot better than what they had before they got Carson Wentz. So I think given the circumstances, I think they wanted Matthew Stafford. We all Colts fans, we all wanted Matthew Stafford, but the Rams decided to show up and say, hey, we're here to get fleeced, and they paid a fucking king's ransom for Matthew Stafford, and gave up Jared Goff in the process. And I'm talking football here for a minute, so. For those of you that wonder what I'm talking about. So they, hats off to Chris Ballard for not bending, to the Eagles and allowing, the Matthew Stafford deal to suddenly become the litmus test of what, starting quarterbacks are going for on the trade market right now. So now I think they got a good deal on it, and now it allows the Colts to use their first round draft pick in the upcoming draft on an offensive lineman, specifically a left tackle to replace Anthony Costanzo that they're really going to need. And if Carson Wentz does well, and that second round pick that we gave him turns into a first round, which is part of the deal. We're good, and he was worth he was worth what we paid for him, if not more. If he flops, they're not out much either. So, but I think he's going to do real well because one thing he had a terrible offensive line in Philadelphia, and he's not going to have that problem here. So no, I think it was a good deal. Do I think he's going to be the next Peyton Manning? No, but he was an MVP caliber quarterback just a couple of years ago, not that long ago. So I mean, he's got the talent. I think you just need to put get the right tools around him. And Ballard's proven to be one of the best GMs in the league when it comes to that. So. Hey, Joseph Austin, hitting up the super chats. Just keep on keeping on. Love the channel. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support. Let's see. Chop It Up says, "What's your view on the Softtech MiG 100 compared to the EH version?" Yeah, I've never played them side by side. I mean, the Softtech MiGs are hard to find. I mean, Josh Scott's apparently has been hoarding those things himself for I don't know how long. And so they seem to be pretty hard to find. They don't pop up very often. I haven't seen one in probably 10 years. And I've certainly never been able to play the two side by side to the Electro Harmonix version. The Electro Harmonix version though does seem to be a pretty faithful, tone wise anyway, pretty faithful recreation from everything that I've heard. Ian Nunez says Ramones are kings of punk. That I won't argue. That I won't argue. Punk music would not be anything that it is or was without the Ramones. And I got to give the Sex Pistols. I got to give them some credit too. But half of those guys are so. Those guys are so fucking crazy. Half of them are dead. Let's see. Michael Griffin says, check out LEF guitars on Facebook. They're gorgeous and all handmade. I'll be getting one in soon. I will be sure to check them out. I'm not familiar with that brand. Where are they made? They, U.S.? Or they import? Who knows? I don't know. Michael Griffin says, do you still have that cap with the Panama Purpleback speakers in it? I do. I'm, the baffle, the front panel board where the speakers are, and those amps were known for this, but, it just up and split one day, so now there's a couple pretty significant cracks in the front of it, and of course, they've since gone out of business, so, there's nobody to do any warranty work on it. So I'm probably going to have to spend some money to, to figure out a way to repair it or get those things filled in and stabilized or something. Those cabs were notorious for that though. There's a lot of people that had that problem because, that's in the same room that all my other cabs and all my other gear is in with, the same humidity conditions and all that kind of stuff. And nothing else has ever had that problem. But that cab did, and it kind of sucks because it's it's a great sounding cab. I like the idea behind it, but there was something they did wrong with the probably the curing process of the wood. So yeah, I still have it. I'm probably what I'm going to wind up doing with it, like I said, is put a little bit of money in it to get that repaired, and I'm thinking about selling it. I'm thinking about selling a lot of my Panama gear, to be honest. So. Vanity Guitar says, check Cody Jinx. Blacktop Mojo, backdrop bands, but good. That's another one I'm not familiar with. Jack Roses here says, Robert, what do you think of the Gibson Firebird? I like Firebirds. There was an era there, like the late 2000s, early 2010s, that they came with the banjo tuners, and those tuners were huge, and in the process, they made those guitars really, really neck heavy. But once you got past that, if you were able to figure that out, um, the Firebirds of that era especially were pretty unique instruments. Firebird's a unique instrument for Gibson anyway because that's their only neck through model. Yeah, I like them. I think they've there's been some. I like the fact that they're using the Steinberg tuners on them now. Which is again a little bit different. And they're smaller and lighter weight, so you don't have quite as much of the neck dive issue with those. But yeah, I like Firebirds. I wouldn't, it's not something I just have to have, but I wouldn't mind owning one. Every time I see a Firebird, I always think old Johnny Winter. Dave Escobar says, get an old 88 MP1. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. I like that old 88 gear, though. Good stuff. Let's see. Mike St. Croix says, yep, I hope Stafford has had better luck with the Rams than my Lions. I think the world's about to see, just how great of a quarterback Matt Stafford is and how bad the Lions fucked up. Let's see. Jack Bird says, not a big fan of Slayer, but to each their own. Yeah, that's, Slayer, unlike the other big four thrash bands from that era, Metallica, Megadeth, and Anthrax, Slayer are a little bit different. Their lyrical content, especially back in the the 80s when the world was a much more conservative place. Back in that era, with the satanic lyrics and stuff, which is just part of their act. I mean, it's not, they're not trying to preach that message or anything. It's just an act. But that made them a little bit harder to swallow for a lot of people out there. So I didn't get into Slayer until I was a little bit older. I had years. Whereas Metallica. God, I was, 7 years old. First time I fell in love with them. I was young. Michael Griffin says, made in USA, all by hand by one guy in Mexico. Referring to, I've already forgotten the name of him. LEF Guitars. Okay. I will check them out. Although, if it's just one guy built, how many guitars, I guess that's, another, another thing that makes that difficult is, you got those one-man shops that, they can only build so many guitars in a year. And, a lot of times they're custom orders, so it's either a long wait or, a lot of times they're really, really expensive. Not always, but sometimes. I don't know. I'll check them out, though. Let's see what they're about. Let's see. Listening to... Michael Griffin says, damn, they changed the construction right before they closed. They changed to a solid wood front baffle with a veneer over it. Purple back speakers sound great. I sent 3 back to them for cracks. I would keep the PRBs and just shove them in a different cab. Love how smooth they make fizzy amps. Well, I've... and that's a possibility. I would rather just keep them in the cab because the cab that I have is one of the Tonewood series that has the built-in attenuator. And if I rip the speakers out of it, yeah, you can put something else in them, but it's obviously it's going to devalue the cabinet. And those speakers, by the way, they're all of the Panama speakers. They're just rebranded warehouse guitar speakers. Is all they are. Warehouse guitar speakers. They slapped a different sticker on the back of them. That's all that they are. I didn't find that out until after they went out of business, which was, I was pretty disappointed in that. Their AV30, which was their aged vintage 30 clone, is a warehouse guitar speaker, veteran 30, which I have 2 of in my Seismic audio cab. So, they're warehouse guitar speakers that are very, very easily acquired. Kind of disappointing they didn't disclose that when they were in business. I was pretty let down to hear that. Amps are all the circuit boards, PCBs they used to build their amps were also clones of like the Panama 20 is the Shaman 20 rather is a Mesa Boogie mini rectifier with some different mods on it. So, and there's also, I think, the just about the same amp as the Joyo Mjolnir. Disappointing. Vanity Guitar says Cody Jinks is country, but started out as a metal dude. Interesting. Kind of interesting to see artists completely switch genres like that at a point in their career. Like Darius Rucker. Obviously they Hootie and the Blowfish started out as alternative rock band back in the 90s, but now he's much better known as a country artist. So Chrome Crescendo is here. Says, "Hi Robert, hope you're well." Thank you, sir. Hope you're doing well as well. I assume you're a sir anyway. I guess you might not be. But thank you very much for saying hello and popping in and hanging out for a bit. See, Joseph Austin says, Robert, I know this is a bit outside your playing preference, but do you know anything about the new Gretsch resonators? The new Gretsch resonators, I do not. The Gretsch been making resonator guitars, as part of their, I guess you'd call them, as part of their acoustic line for a long time. I sold several of them, actually, when I was at the store. I seem to sell more of the round necks than I did the square necks. They're not, they're a good alternative to the Regal resonators if you don't want to spend Regal resonator kind of money. They're if you don't want to spend that kind of money, because those can get expensive. The Gretsch resonators, like I said, I don't know anything about any newer models that they may have come out with, but all the ones that I played have been pretty nice, pretty well made instruments. So I wouldn't be afraid to buy one. Man. Got this damn cough and this frog in my throat I can't get rid of. Marco Crociolo says, have you tried any guitar to the new Epiphone lines? Yeah, quite a few. I don't get to play play Epiphones as much as I want to. I mean, no, you gotta remember, Gibson hates me. They're never gonna send me any gear demo. Never. I have a good but complicated but strange but good, seemingly a good relationship with one of their senior product specialists, but they're never going to send me any gear. So I'm likely never going to demo any new Gibson or Epiphone product, or now Kramer or Steinberger or any of that stuff, on my channel. It's the chances of that are slim. That said, I think Epiphone's quality right now is as good as it's ever been. I think Epiphone are putting out, for the most part, some really, really nice instruments right now. I've been pretty impressed with what they're doing. They brought back the Well, they got that they're calling it their first collaboration with the Gibson custom shop things, that 59 reissue thing that they're doing, 59 Les Paul, and they also just brought back the what the hell? Now can I not think of the name of that series all of a sudden now? They used to come with EMGs and stuff in them, but now they're coming with like Fishman Fluence pickups and a few others. There's a Les Paul, and I think there's a Les Paul. There's what they're calling the Xtura, which is something between an Explorer and a Futura model. So somewhere between those two, and I think a Flying V and one other one I can't recall. I'm going to assume an SG, but I could be wrong. God, I can't believe the name of that experience. The Prophecy series. Thank you. Thank you, Park. So yeah, and those seem to be pretty well made. But like I said, I'm not buying any guitars until I buy my own my Les Paul custom that I want. And as much as I would love to demo one of those for you guys, I really would enjoy doing that. I don't after me. I kind of went on a Gibson tirade about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was really, really frustrated with them at the time. And, I don't think they've forgotten about that. So. Philip B says, "What's up, guitar friends? Anybody interested in the new Dave Mustaine Gibson?" So I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at how many people have brought that up today. So, yeah, where there's been a lot of interest in that in that particular trailer video. So, their teaser video, I guess, is probably a better description of it. So I'm sure it'd be pretty cool. Well, no, I'm sure what's going to happen is they're going to come out with something. They're going to design something, come out with something that that they've designed with Dave Mustaine, and there's going to be a few people out there that go and buy it because they're diehard Dave Mustaine or diehard Megadeth fans, and that's the reason why they want it. Which is okay. And then there's going to be be the contingent of other people that find the meaningless little, they'll see one picture of it and then they'll bitch and moan about everything. It's I'm beginning to feel sorry for Gibson because that's what happens every time they hype up or anytime they release a new model. Some people bitch without ever laying their hands on one. Well, let's see. If you are just joining, by the way, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but if you would like to support the channel, it sure would go a long, long way, and is all greatly appreciated. You can do that. Click that little $ there below the chat box. You can hit up the PayPal link in the description, or you can buy yourself a T-shirt there in the Teespring shop. Which is pinned up there at the top of the chat. So, all that stuff is all greatly appreciated. And that's what allows me to keep this thing going. So, all that money all goes right back into the channel, like I said. So, let's see. Jack Bird says, "How's the guitar market doing? Is it oversaturated, or is it still growing? Or is guitar dying like some say?" Anybody who says guitar is dying is fucking blind, if you ask me. Yes, the pandemic had something to do with this, but guitar companies, Fender in particular, the big one, sold more guitars last year than they have in years or even their history. So despite all the all the negative stuff surrounding surrounding the pandemic and everything that's gone on with that, it has actually been very, very good for the MI business. A lot of people have used this opportunity to learn, to pick up instruments they've wanted to learn to play for a long, long time. So, I would suspect here in the next 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to see a whole new generation of guitar players hit the scene that weren't around before because they've always wanted to learn to play guitar, didn't have the opportunity, and suddenly they did. So, yeah, this, anybody that says guitar is dying, guitar is dead. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Guitar sales have gone up, even outside of COVID. Guitar sales have climbed pretty significantly since about 2011, I think. There was a slight drop in 2014, but 1 year, but yeah, I don't buy into any of that nonsense at all. I think it's crazy. Let's see. Ben East, the Slayer mosh pits were brutal. I don't think they were nearly as bad as Pantera. That was the most brutal mosh pit I've ever been in. Yeah, I didn't want to be in it. I just kind of got dragged into it at one of their shows. It was a painful experience going to see Pantera live because Phil was such an asshole. He wouldn't allow anybody not he wouldn't. That was just one of his rules. He was on stage. Anybody slacking off, he wouldn't allow it. JG Mopar says, Benny, I took my ex-girlfriend years ago to Slayer. She was next to the pit, got sucked in, came out later with no shoes. She was a small girl and was nuts, always went in the mosh pits. That's funny. Michael Griffin says, mine is one of the tone wood of the attenuator as well. They definitely changed the construction, thank God. I have the WGS Veteran 30s as well. Wonder what the purplebacks are then. Whatever the warehouse guitar speakers equivalent to greenbacks are, that's probably what they are. Which would be, I can't remember what they call those. The Green Beret? Are they the ones that make the Green Beret, or is that Eminence? Whatever WGS's greenback equivalent is. So, dude, Scott Manning, thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much. Scott just hit up the PayPal donation. By the way, if you guys haven't seen Scott's channel, you need to. Scott, post a link down there in the chat so everybody can find it. If you guys want, he's a new his channel is new, but he's a friend of mine. I know him personally, so I can tell you, here in the city of Indianapolis and surrounding areas, which is now the 12th largest city in the country, by the way, to give you an idea how many people I'm talking about. Scott's one of the best guitar players in this city. And, he and I got to know each other when I was at Guitar Center. He used to come in and buy stuff from me quite a bit. And we became friends, one of the many people like that I became friends with over the years. But Scott is a great, great guitar player. So go check out his channel because I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy it. So. Michael Griffin says, "Got to go. Thank you for the knowledge. My pleasure, sir. I don't know, I don't really have a ton of knowledge to share always, but if anybody gets anything out of hanging out here once a week or or seeing any of my videos, that's I guess that's all that matters, and it's really what's important." So. Alan Aviation says, "Do you like prog metal other than DT, meaning Dream Theater? Recommendations? I listen to some Symphony X. The term prog metal, I think is, like a lot of metal genres, subgenres. I think is, a little loose, but something similar to Dream Theater. Actually, really similar to Dream Theater that I really, really like is a band called Sons of Apollo. If you haven't listened to them yet, they're kind of a super group that features Billy Sheehan on bass. Ron Bumblefoot Tall is the guitar player, and I think Mike Portnoy might be playing drums in that band as well. I can't recall, but I think he might. Anyway. Great. They've got two albums out. I like the first one the best, but the second one's also really good. But the first one I think is definitely the superior record. The Sons of Apollo are a great band. If you like prog metal, you need to check them out. Metallica has gotten more progressive over the years. The Death Magnetic record I thought was really progressive, especially for them. The bands that I'm into, those probably be my suggestions. So I don't know where I'm also into Five Finger Death Punch, and I can't stop listening to their latest album called F8. I can't stop listening to that record. So I don't know where you might classify them, but also great. Let's see. Ian Nunez says lead singer of Mustaine went country as well. Also, well, that is the most popular genre. Go where the money is, I guess. So, and holy shit, Pedalboard to Doom is here. Buddy Lee, what's up, man? Hope you and yours are doing well. I like Lee Alexander, great dude, man. Dave Escobar says I like that flamey purple Epiphone Explorer. $800 a bit too high though. That's the one I was talking about. That's the Prophecy series. I don't know, man. $800. I don't think that's too high at all, man. Because the first round of the Prophecy series, that's what those guitars sold for. It was $799. I think 10 years later with inflation and everything, I think it's a very fair price. Jim Woodard says, "Hey, has anyone heard about Mustaine or Gibson?" Let's see. Now I'm behind in the chat, so I'll give you a minute to get caught up again. Ian Nunez says, "Who cares what artists change companies? It's their business, none of anyone's business. Really, they aren't getting a cut, so shut the hell up." Actually, that's not them not getting a cut. That's not true. A big part of those endorsement deals, in order for Gibson to put Dave Mustaine's name on a specific guitar model, that assumes that Dave's name on that guitar model will help to sell, helps to sell those guitars, and contributes a lot to it. Therefore they do get part of that endorsement deal is that they do get a cut of the proceeds. I don't know if they're if they get a commission off the overall sale, or if they get a commission on the profits. I don't know how. I imagine there's probably several different ways to work that out, but that is how that works. So anytime you buy a piece of signature gear, if you're buying it new, at least a small chunk of that money is going into that artist's pocket. And that's also one reason why a lot of signature gear is slightly, is oftentimes at least a little bit more expensive than its non-signature counterparts that might be something similar from the same company. So, yep, all marketing, and everybody gets paid for it, even the artist. Phil B says, "Anybody try to buy a Boss Tone Bender? Shit was whack experience." I almost did, just because it was a limited thing, and I was I couldn't justify spending $350 though for a collector pedal that I know I'm gonna hate. So I decided not to, and they ended up selling out a few hours later anyway. But which we all knew that was gonna happen. So people have been going bananas over that stupid thing since it was announced a month or two ago. Mm. Robert Dearden says guitar is more popular partly because it's easier to learn chords, favorite songs, etc., because of the interwebs. That is true. It has become a lot easier to, there's a lot more resources anyway that to learn to play. Learn to play the instrument than there used to be, and none of that stuff existed when I was first learning to play. So I learned a lot since the internet has been a factor. So. Billboard to Doom says, "Man, I miss pits. Great excuse to tear it up." I don't know what you're referring to, but I don't know what you mean by pits. Armpits? Frog metal. Let's see. Let's see. Pedalboard of Doom says, "I'm good. Thanks, man. I think often the company pays them a lump sum to use their name. And I'm sure there are some deals out there that is how that works. You're probably with the lesser known artists, for example, Matt Heafy. Probably a good example. Also a Gibson artist, but he doesn't have the following. He's not as popular as Dave Mustaine, is what I'm saying. And part of that just has to do with Dave Mustaine's longevity. So, part of that has to do with Dave Mustaine's longevity. But but that may have been, and I don't know this, but that a deal like an endorsement deal like that might be one that's more subjective to the company paying the artist a lump sum. Here's your money. Now we have the rights to use your name on this particular guitar design that you have signed off on, and now we start cranking them out. And then that deal runs for a couple years or however long it is, and then they talk about renewing and doing it all over again. So it's there's different ways to do the companies do that kind of thing. I know with Gibson and other companies as well, but Gibson in particular, one thing that they like to ask of a lot of their artists is to do several clinics with their gear. That was part of the one thing that Bill Kelleher was saying after he had his falling out with Gibson. Was that he honored his side of the contract and his side of the deal, and he showed up and he did every clinic that they asked him to do, and plugged the guitars, all that stuff, everything that he was expected of, and it just didn't work out. Ian Nunez says, "I mean, the complaining trolls aren't getting a cut. That's true. Yeah, that is true. You know, he's what he was referring to is what I said earlier when when these new Dave Mustaine signatures are released, and people finally have pictures up, and and people that that see one picture of it and start bitching. Those are the people that he's talking about who aren't getting a cut. So. Uh, so my apology for misunderstanding. Tommy Turner says Fender raising prices across the board on everything. EVHs have gone up, and the Jackson RR1 I aspired to buy one day went from $28.99 last year to $4,500 this year. Afraid to look at Charvels. I think so. Yeah, I think they went up quite. I don't think it was that huge of a price increase. I'd be curious to know which RR1 you were looking at that went up $1,600. That's a little steep, but but there I think it was a price increase across the board. It's just due to inflation. Lee Alexander says, I got a Boss Tone Bender on where I knew you were going to get one. I knew you were going to get one. I thought about it just for collectability reasons, and honestly, I probably could have bought it and kept it for a month, did the demo video on it, and I probably could have turned around and flipped it for twice what I paid for it. But, I don't want to do that because it's, I hate price gougers. And I don't want to be one of those assholes. So, Ring Hard says, "Hi Robert, your thoughts on cheap guitar with expensive pickups? I have an Ibanez GRG 121, thinking of putting Seymour Duncan Black Winter in it." I've never had good luck with it, man. I've had some really, really cheap guitars that I put a good set of pickups in, and they still sounded like cheap guitars. They sounded like cheap guitars with better pickups than what they had in them before, but it didn't transform a $200 guitar into a $2,500 guitar or anything close to it. So now I think a lot of it's a myth at best. So there's more than, there's more to a guitar's tone than just the pickups. Pickups are important. Not gonna say they're not important. They are, but that's not the only contributing factor. So, I would recommend that before you spend money on parts and labor, putting that stuff in, upgrading pickups in an expensive guitar like that, save up a little bit more money. Honestly, just buy a better guitar. I think is better advice. You're going to get more longevity out of it. So that's what I would do. Mosh pits, what Lee was talking about. My bad. Let's see. JG Mopar says, I have a Matt Heafy Epiphone. I love that guitar. Those are great guitars, man. I've played a few of them, and that Matt, I agree. Matt Heafy Epiphone is that's a perfect example of where Epiphone's build quality is today. I think they're making guitars as great as their build quality is as nice as it's ever been. Like I've said that a few times here recently. But there's a reason why they don't make that model in the Gibson line, So because if they made that model in the and with the Gibson brand name on it, it's probably going to be $3,000. And most Matt Heafy fans do not have $3,000 to buy on a Matt Heafy guitar. So and the people that do have $3,000 to spend on a Matt Heafy guitar are not going to buy a Matt Heafy signature guitar. Let's see. Haas Coleman says, Robert, hope you're well. Have a great weekend. Stay warm. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I actually went outside earlier to the mailbox, here before I started the live show today, and it wasn't that bad out there, really. I mean, I went out there in a t-shirt, and it wasn't blistering cold or anything. So it's, we're still got a pile of fucking snow on the ground, but that we're gonna be stuck with for a while. But weather-wise here, temperature-wise today anyway is not bad. Ian Nunez says, how much is the Waza Tone Bender going for? It was a limited run. I can't remember how many they said they were doing, 1,100 or something like that. There's not very many of them being made, but it's basically a almost identical recreation of the old Tone Bender fuzz circuit is what it is, which is, so all the fuzz fanatics are going crazy for it. So they were selling these for $349.99. They sold out in a matter of hours. John Curley says, I wonder what the deal is when you have a guitar. If you turn the third string up to sound right for a C chord, it will sound too high when you hit a D chord. There is a science behind that. I think Paul Davids did a video on that about a year or two ago. Oh, boy. I can't. Oh, man. He explained it pretty well. He's got a pretty vast knowledge of music theory, which is kind of where the science behind that comes from. Let's see if I can find it. Paul Davids. I know he was using the Red Hot. That's what it is. Why didn't Frusciante tune his guitar? That's the one I'm looking for. Say the dude's name, that pedal builder. It may be the craziest, most whacked out dude I have ever encountered in my life, bullying other pedal builders because they don't agree with him. Talk about douchebags. That guy's at the top of the list. There was an ad for one of that guy's pedals before, that popped up before this Paul Davids video that I was talking about. Sorry. Minor distraction. Anyway, but yeah, that link right there, I think is exactly what you're describing, and or at least an explanation for it. So watch that video, and he's gonna be able to answer that far better than I ever will. Pedalboards of Doom says, here's the thing with the Boss Tone Bender. It's by far the cheapest solar sound pedal on the market, and it comes with Boss build quality. There you go. So, Boss build quality, I agree, is a big factor. But cheapest solar sound pedal on the market. Haas Coleman says, thinking of a Yamaha Pacifica. Thoughts? If you're buying Yamaha, buy with confidence, dude. Yamaha makes some of the best built guitars on the planet, in my opinion. I don't think I've ever run across a bad Yamaha guitar. Buy with confidence. Mm-hmm. JG Mopar said, hope no one had headphones on. I don't know what you're referring to. With that, I don't know. Did I emit an unpleasant noise or something? I'm not aware of. What is this music? Wait, could you guys hear that? That that video that was playing, was that? Because I mean, I've got it muted here, and I heard it coming out of my headphones that I've got hanging up here next to me. But that was it. I didn't even have it coming out of my speakers. So if you guys heard that, that was that was a video for that demo that pedal company that I was complaining about or criticizing here a minute ago. That was an ad for it. One of those. It was an ad that popped up prior to the Paul Davis video that I was trying to share. That's what that sound was. So I didn't get to hear much of it, but I saw what it was and realized nothing against the guy that was doing the demo, whoever he was. I'm not familiar with him. Nothing against that individual, but the company that he was demoing for is one that I won't ever. I will never work with. So. Park Kingery says that pedal builder is not worth mentioning, and you were absolutely right, and that's why I'm not going to mention him any more than that. Let's see. That's interesting. You guys could hear that though. I wonder why you guys can hear that, but but when if I plug a guitar in though, and even run it through my interface, you guys can't hear that, which is why I never mess with streaming audio. Weird. Let's see. Huh, interesting. Okay. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're actually approaching the 2.5 hour mark. This is this turned out to be a little bit longer of a live stream than usual. So I am I'm gonna split. I'm gonna go give me some lunch, and I got a shelf to put together. So as much as I'm not looking forward to doing that. At any rate, so for those of you that supported the channel, thank you so much for doing so. Greatly appreciated. I'm very thankful. New video comes out tomorrow. When I think, like I said, I think you guys are. I got some videos coming out here over the next couple of weeks. I think that you guys are going to enjoy at least most of them. So keep an eye out, and yeah. Pedal Wars of Doom says I can show you how to run your guitar into a live stream. Okay, well, hold that thought, and I'll hit you up here this week about that, because I can't figure out how to do that. Anyway, all right, guys. Adios. Have a great weekend. Take care.